Well, we were gonna talk about it. I just got a message that kind of sets us up perfect. You know, it is. Hey Steve, hope the weekend for Helicopters for Heroes went well. Just wanted to ask about the cornhole boards that my husband donated for the event. We haven't heard back from them other than a thank you when he offered to make them. Just curious if they were raffled off or how they were used. Yes, we did raffle them off. They were absolutely, unbelievably gorgeous. I mean, there's guys that do these cornhole boards.
Yeah.
And I don't want to shit on anybody, but they're nice.
Yeah.
These were like over nice.
Yeah.
And
they were made with love.
Well, they were just gorgeous. Did you see them?
Yeah, I did.
Oh
I did.
God.
I went. It was part of the silent auction.
They were unbelievably gorgeous. So I just want to let Joanne Rodriguez know that it was the talk, because we were in kind of in a hurry, and I had the cornhole board sent over there.
Uh-huh.
When I got there, everybody was like, "Have you seen these? Where did they come from? And who did it?" And so I was like, "Well, that came from our team, our fans, right?" So I just want to let her know, and I also want to give her husband a shout out because Found Wood Designs NY. So at Found Wood Designs NY.
And why, like WHY? This is like I am Renae with an A.
Yes.
Found Woods Designs and like the letter Y or and Y? Which one is it, Steve?
So yes, we did raffle them off.
You didn't answer the question.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is it Found Woods Designs and the letter Y or like Y, WHY?
It is. I'll tell you. Hold on. Let me come up here and get it. Found Wood Design NY. The letter N.
NY.
Yes, N.
Oh, like New York.
Like
NY.
New York, yes.
Okay, I wasn't understanding you.
And if you go to their page, I mean, I'm telling you, this guy's. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And they were. It is. You can get custom boards made, and a lot of times they put a sticker, they glaze over them.
Yeah.
Right. These are just. It was more than gorgeous and more than over the top, and look again. Donnie Edwards is reaching out right now. We just
to catch up to speed. We just got back from Helicopters for Heroes this weekend.
Yesterday.
Or you just got back.
Yesterday.
I got back a little earlier. You just got back.
It was just a God, as you can tell, I'm losing my voice, but we spend the whole year trying to raise money for veterans, and it all comes to fruition in one weekend.
Yeah.
And
you know what this made me realize, though, as we're like talking about this on the podcast, is you talk about every year, like how are we going to make this event bigger and better every year? That was a silent auction item, and it's done through an app. And couldn't anybody anywhere be on the app? Like
they could, and
with more planning, could we like send that out in advance?
Yes, boss. Yes, it is. It is. Look, it is. Poor Jake and all the team at Helicopters for Heroes that volunteer. Like, I mean, every year, of course, we're like, we got to be better. We got to be better. We got to be better. And it does. It gets bigger and better, and it grows. It is definitely growing and definitely getting better. It doesn't change the fact that it is still a very, very difficult event to pull off. I'm so proud of all the familiar faces that we see that we can count on year after year after year. Not to mention the new faces that showed up this year that completely stepped it up and helped out, because it is all volunteer. There is no staff out there. Yeah. So when it is time to throw plates away or clean up or sweep or set up tables, that is all on us as volunteers. And it was just a really, really beautiful weekend. And I mean, I don't want to talk about it because I am happy. I'm very happy.
I do want to talk about it. I was like, my plan for this podcast was like, hi, welcome, by the way.
Yes, welcome.
Was let's like dissect Helicopters for Heroes, because you are great about highlighting like other charities, but we've never like deep dive into what happens that weekend. And I feel like talking about it with people people who are coming, like one of your friends that came this weekend, Angela and her husband were like, Steve was talking this event up. And so
we came.
We donated and we came. We don't know what we're getting into. Like we got the schedule a day or two before we were supposed to be here and we're not quite sure what's going on, but we're here on faith.
But what I want to talk about too is being a public figure is becoming very, very difficult. And, I truly do the best I can. And unfortunately, I have my issues, and I'm not. I've made mistakes in my life, and I will continue to make mistakes in my life. But I am very sensitive, and I don't want to sound like. And I am sensitive to the fact that I am not sensitive when somebody says you're short, you're fat, you're ugly, you don't deserve that girl, or
you're hairy,
but
you're not that funny.
Yeah,
I'll keep going.
Those things don't bother me, or if somebody says, hey, you're not funny, even that doesn't bother me.
No, it doesn't.
If somebody says, hey, you're not funny, well, that's okay, right? That doesn't bother me. It's when I try to do something nice, and then it turns into, well, he doesn't care about veterans, and he only does it so he looks good in front of his fans, and that's the stuff that I'm like, man, it's that attitude of like, oh, you don't care, and it's like, no, I really do care.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, okay, let's break it down, right? Pretty much every show you do, even to the point where sometimes I'm like, Steve, can we just finish the show? It's going so long. Can it be over? And you're like, no, I want to give it up to the men and women who defend this country. And that is going to be a part of my show.
And we try to give it up for the nurses and the teachers and the first responders and the hardworking people of the world, because I do appreciate them. And then, to hear, well, you just do it. And I'm like, no, I did it when there was 10 people in the audience.
But the people across the country that you meet, just by saying that and giving that love and the stories that come back to you, and the people who end up donating and helping to Helicopters for Heroes, there are actionable things that come from what you do and what you say. Right.
And, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because I woke up this morning to a terrible comment about my character, and why I do what I do, and that I really don't care, and that it's all for publicity purposes. And man, that's the kind of stuff that really,
and really I just hate that it came this morning, because this weekend was such an amazing event, and I'm so proud of you. And I don't want you to I don't want you to let a comment this morning take away all that you accomplished. Not just this weekend, but throughout the year.
And look, and I've said it before, selfishly, this weekend makes me also feel good. It makes me feel good to do this. So I'm not only doing it for veterans, I'm being honest, I am selfishly also doing it for me, because it fills my soul and it makes me feel good. And it makes me get reset.
But if I could show everyone, if I could play on this podcast all the highlight videos that it was like 3 or 4 different organizations that the money went to this weekend. But the highlight videos for those 3 organizations.
I don't cry all year.
Were amazing.
I don't cry all year.
And that's where this money's going to.
So many great people there that we met this year that are, there's a guy from Rescue 22 that we are giving money to, because he trains dogs and gives service members who need it a service dog. Mm-hmm. But not just here, hug on this dog. He completely trains it. And he has the biggest dog training facility on the Eastern Seaboard. And he takes these dogs, he trains them, and then he pairs them up with veterans. And as you heard on stage, a lot of these veterans, they go, one of the lines of the night, and I don't want to give Chris his last name out because I don't want to put him on blast, but when he was on stage and he said, thank you, Rescue 22, because when the demons are in my head and there's nobody there at night for me, my dog is. And it was like, wow. But we did so many great stories this weekend and so many great people. And, I donate that weekend to do that. And I love it. I love being there. And even though I didn't work and make money, it was food for the soul.
Yeah.
Right. And I need it because I do feel selfish sometimes as a comedian, and I do feel very lucky and privileged that people pay to see me perform. So when I have a weekend like that, it makes me feel like, okay, hey guys, everything you gave to me, I'm trying to give back.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've had my missteps. I've made my mistakes. I have not been the best person that I could be, especially in my past. But it does break my heart, man, when I wake up to a message like that, and it's just like, holy crap, like. And
no one is perfect. And I mean, you just owned up to it right now and said, I did things I wish I could take back. And I think that's life, right? We all do things we wish that we could take back. And so we just try and give more good.
We try to fix it and move forward and be the best you can be. And there's a lot of things that have motivated me to try to be better. And you're one of them. My kids are another one.
You're going to make me cry right now because I was, no, really, like I was so proud. I'm going to cry. I was so proud of you and what you accomplished this weekend. And
I didn't do it alone. There were so many of us.
Oh my, yes. No. Jake and Harrison working on this all year long and Jim and Kat. Yes, it is a huge team of people. But I'm speaking as your wife. I'm so proud of what happened this weekend. And you can't explain to anyone what Helicopters for Heroes is exactly. You have to go and see it and experience it. And because I'm always like, it's a tough weekend. Delilah was running 102 fever this weekend. And so I had to hang back for a little bit and then rushed up to be able to join you. It's a lot. It's hard for our family to juggle with the littles. And I got there and I had a moment of this is what it's about. When you see those veterans and the camaraderie, because when you explain it to someone, you're like, oh, what is Helicopters for Heroes? What's that event? Oh, well, we take vets up in helicopters and take them hunting. And as a woman, and I'm not a hunter, I'm like, oh, okay. But when you see how much it means to these men, and then you start to realize that, yes, these are men who have been wounded in combat. Going up in a helicopter is something very different for them than the rest of us. And it's not just the act of going up in a helicopter, but them doing it together and that sense of team again, and even to connect with someone who really understands your experience on a deeper level.
What about the story of we got one guy blown up, and he's in a wheelchair, he's missing legs, lost part of his hand, and I don't want to put these guys on blast.
Yeah.
So he's there. He's there with another friend of mine that he served that he served with. They are part of our special guests. There's another guy there. They get in the same Suburban because we shuttle everybody out to the ranch. They get in the same Suburban. They start talking. Hey man, what company are you? And forgive me if I'm getting the lingo wrong. But where did you serve and what did you do and blah blah blah. Holy shit! Turns out that the guy that got blown up was replaced by the guy that got in the Suburban with him, never met each other, knew each other's names, knew that he was replacing that guy. Mm-hmm. They handed that guy's pistol, government-issued pistol, to him. He later on gets shot by a sniper, and he's like, fuck this pistol. This is the unlucky pistol. He finally gets to meet the guy that had the pistol before him at our event. What are the odds that, number one, they're at the same event, number two, that they get in the same Suburban at the same time for them to reconnect? Those guys ended up hanging out the whole night together because they had this sense of camaraderie. Another one of our recipients was Donnie Edwards, who is an NFL legend. He was a linebacker, and he has the best defense foundation.
My God. If their highlight video is on their website, you guys have to watch it. It was the most beautifully produced thing I've seen. And I just that video got me.
It is like, holy and I don't cry all year. All year I don't cry.
I don't know about that, but
how do you spell Mitch? How do you spell his name?
M-I-T-C-H?
Is it
I don't
M-I...
know. Is that usually how you spell it?
T-C-H. No, but his name is Micah. Well, right? It was Micah. How do you...
M-I-C-A-H.
Is Micah.
M-I-C-A-H.
No, but the video I'm talking about, it shows all of these, like, they're very elderly vets. And that particular organization plans a trip for them that takes them back to the places that they fought. For many of them, it's like the first time they've ever gone back, and it's just like the most emotional thing to see these men go back there, and they're probably they're like 80s.
Well, yeah, at that one in particular, he took World War II veterans in the video. He took them back to Iwo Jima and
Normandy,
Normandy,
right?
and to see these guys get there, and these grown men who have led an amazing life. He takes them back. One of the guys was so funny because he's like, at this age, I'm up for anything. Let's go.
And then one guy in the video was like, because there's so many scams that just prey on elderly veterans and they pretend to be like some sort of veteran assistance program. It's really bad. It happens a lot. It's prevalent. But this man was like, they told me they were going to give me a free trip. I thought it was a scam. The cutest thing.
But then to connect with Donnie, Donnie is an ex-NFL guy, lives in San Diego, and then to talk to him and to start kind of getting to know him and to realize that he's a civilian. He was not a veteran.
Yeah.
Like myself, I was not a veteran. My father proudly served in Vietnam, but to see Jake as well. Jake, Phillip Brooks. I mean, all the guys that run this organization. 90% of us did not serve.
Yeah.
And this is our way of serving. And at the end of the day, man, I do the best I can with what I got, with the time that I got. And trying to juggle Helicopters for Heroes, my main focus, trying to be kind all the time to everybody and anybody, trying to be the best father I can be, trying to be the best husband I can be, and then feeling like I'm constantly failing miserably at all of it,
No, this weekend should be an illustration of how you are not failing miserably. You guys raised, and I'm going to brag about it. You guys raised through this year you raised over $1 million this year for these veteran organizations.
We don't want to officially say that because we don't know how much we raised, but little things like the cornhole boards and the quilt and all these things that people bring to the table. For us to raise money.
And that comes from you going out on the road and talking about it and using your platform and people saying, yes, I want to contribute. So when you say, I don't do much or I just do it for social media purposes, when people accuse you of that or whatever,
but that's
it's doing good.
Right.
Bottom line is it's doing good.
That's what I was going to say, right? Even if I was that evil to go, hey, I'm going to do this because I want to look good. It doesn't matter. I still did good. Right? It doesn't matter the motivation behind it.
I want to say, how much money have you raised? That's what I want to say.
Exactly, right? But then you realize that there's people that you contact in life and you say no to, and then they think, well, fuck you, you really don't care. No, I was just not able to help you. I didn't have the time to help you specifically.
I think I take it personally, and I get upset about it too, because I know in our family what a sacrifice it is. To do the juggle, like you're juggling stuff. So you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else, and it's a juggle. And I certainly don't do as much as you do. It is definitely your
but it's like,
organization. But when someone discredits you that way, it almost feels like they're discrediting me too.
When we try so hard, we try so fucking hard, and it's like the, when I said, look, I like to help the up and comers. I would like to see more Mexican Americans in media, in a positive light, blah, blah, blah. When I say those things, I mean it, but I can only do so much. And then I wake up to 50, 60 text messages through Facebook, through Instagram, through TikTok, through Twitter going, I have a project, talk about my project. And then when I can't get back to them, then the next message is, fuck you, bro. You're not what you're about. You said you're about this, and you're not.
I have a project, Steve Trevino. Can you get back to me about my project, please?
And you said you would fucking help us, and you're not helping me. I have a and I'm like, oh my God, I get 50 of those a week.
I know.
And I can only do the best I can.
Yeah.
You know, I can only do what I can. And a lot of times just having a platform and a voice should be enough. You know, to bring awareness on stage when I'm on stage, whether I go out and raise money for veterans or not.
Yeah.
The fact that I take a few minutes in front of, you know, usually 2,000 people a weekend to go, hey, let's take a minute to thank our veterans. And by the way, veteran suicide is through the roof, and we are up to 30 a day committing suicide. 1 in every 9 homeless people is a veteran. Just getting that awareness out there, is that not enough? You know, is it me going, hey, you know, so then, am I better off not saying anything, doing my show, waving goodnight, and then leaving? Because that guy's not getting shit on. The guy that does absolutely nothing doesn't get shit on, right? And I think we were with Tammy and Jerry, and she goes, it proves my theory.
No, she said, no good deed goes unpunished. And it ached my heart when she said that, because I was like, I don't want to think that way. I don't want to think that way and operate that way. And she's like, no, I'm not saying you should think that way, but you know, she was basically, you just have to be prepared. Like,
I don't know, man. And you know, and it is scary, because you go, well, shit, man, you know, here I am trying to be a better person. I've made mistakes in my youth. It's like, is that person from my youth going to come out and go, well, let me tell you what he did to me 25 years ago?
I think it ultimately comes down to you have to know inside in your heart. You actually were the one who told me that. That was the phrase you gave to me, was, Renae, you just have to know. And like you just have to know in your core who you are and your moral compass, what you believe in and what you've done and what you've put out into the world. And baby, I really do believe you have put out way more good in this world.
I hope so. And that's what I try. You know, I always said that maybe the next name of the special is Steve Trevino, I try. You know, I'm not saying I succeed. I'm saying that I really try to be, and I try to be thoughtful, you know, to everybody's feelings. And I do have a very harsh, aggressive personality. I have a very harsh, aggressive sense of humor.
Yes.
You know, especially with
even
friends,
in your way of helping, you know,
Right.
like even in the way you want to help people when you give advice, it is harsh and aggressive.
Yeah, but I do care, you know. Hold on. Excuse me for 1 second. Carry on.
Yeah. No, I think that I wanted to do a deep dive on this episode about Helicopters for Heroes, because like I said, you can't explain what that is to someone. Stu from Pick Cherries, our sponsor Pick Cherries, came out, and Stu was like, Renae, I had no idea that this event was this big, that this is what it was. They were there filming for something else and interviewed so many vets because they were just blown away by their stories, and they all have such interesting stories to tell. And I'm hoping that will humanize things, because again, I think when you say Helicopters for Heroes takes vets up in a helicopter and takes them hunting, you're missing the very humanizing point of that. Helicopters for Heroes needs a good produced video, because it's amazing.
No, and that's what we talked about. Like, how do we continue to push things forward? How do we continue to raise more money? How do we continue to be better?
Yeah.
You know, and to the more money we can raise, the more people that we can.
And
we
it's
can
not
affect.
it's not just the vets. Sorry to cut you off, but it's not just the vets that are there that day that have that amazing experience. It's even, I talked to from Eddie's organization, there's a woman who works on his staff, and she's also a vet, and she came up to us like teary-eyed.
She was so sweet.
She's like, I have been so emotional all day. I'm sorry. But the organizations that receive these gifts, that receive this money, it's them too.
But it's the weekend itself, and you know, even if we didn't give money to those organizations, you know, we pay for their hotels. We pay for their flights in. We pay for their lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We gave them all Helicopters for Heroes merchandise for them to wear.
Hoodies, jackets.
We put them in helicopters. Even that weekend, we call them our honored guests. We had 40 honored guests there, veterans that didn't pay a dime to be there and to get them together, hanging out, again, reconnecting over a 25-year period that they knew each other's names, never met. That to me is so valuable and beautiful. And I don't tell a single joke that weekend. Yeah. I'm on stage pushing things along, getting the veterans the volunteers to help out and kind of push things along for the weekend to keep things going. But it does hurt my feelings because I do really try, and it does. That's what people don't realize. Like, man, when you shit on somebody on the internet, there's a real human behind there. There's a real person behind there.
Yeah.
And to know that there's people who fucking hate Tom Hanks.
Why do people hate Tom Hanks?
I don't know, but there are people. There are people that go, fuck Tom Hanks. And you're like, what? So, I guess, when you're in the public eye, you're going to get that. However, what people don't realize is that I am a person and I do care and I do read the comments and I don't.
Maybe you start to realize, like, just as I see how it has affected you, maybe you start to realize why people don't read the comments. Because any asshole can write a comment.
And you also realize, and I've been told this several times, where they go, Steve, do not handle your social media. Let somebody else handle it. Let somebody else read the comments. Let somebody else reply. Let somebody else handle it. Steve, it's grown too big. Don't look at your socials. It's too personal to me. I have to, and I want to, and I want to stay connected, and I want to, I
hear you, but I don't know. Maybe I'm on the other side on this issue because as I see the personal toll it takes and the mental capacity, the time and the energy it takes, it's not worth it. Like that part is wasted.
But how many people go, oh my God, is this you? When I respond, and I'm like, yeah, it's me, right?
Yeah.
But if I don't respond and I don't pay attention, then I don't get the beautiful cornhole boards for the veterans.
Yeah.
I got that because I did respond, because I did make sure to let them know, hey, this would be fantastically awesome if you could do this for us.
Yeah.
Right? Because I did. So if I don't respond and I don't read the comments, then I also feel out of touch.
Yeah.
It's like to move on to a different topic that has to do with this topic. People loved having that we had Frost and his wife Erica.
Oh, I haven't even had a chance to read the comments. What do people think?
People loved it, and they loved them, and I have to agree with them that they look so young and so in love and so sweet, and people said, wow, what a sweet couple, and what a beautiful thing. However, one of the comments was like, hey Steve, let them fucking talk. Right? So how do I learn and get better if I'm not reading the comments? Right? How do I learn and become a better podcaster,
right,
a better person if I'm not reading the comments? Because okay, well shoot, obviously.
Well, you know what, that's interesting. Now I want to go back and read the comments too, but that's interesting that people felt that way, because after we walked out, I told them, like, great job, that was so good. And I expressed that, like, with four of us, it's really hard when there's four of us on the podcast together. It's really hard to not step over each other's toes, to keep it flowing and moving.
And my goal is always that, exactly, to keep it flowing and moving and continue to push the conversation forward. Yeah. So that's kind of my main goal when we have guests is, can I continue to push the conversation forward?
Yeah.
And
giving everyone a chance to speak. Like, I felt last week's episode, before, when we've had four guests, I feel like it ends up two people really get to speak, and then I want the guests to get to talk, so I don't talk as much. But I thought last week Erica got to talk, a lot too. Or not a lot, but got to participate in the conversation as well. So I thought that was good.
I thought it was good too. But the point I'm trying to make is that I read the comments so I can learn, so that I can be better, right? Because, I always say that if one person calls you an asshole, leave it, take it or leave it. But if 5 people call you an asshole, then maybe it's you.
Yeah.
Right. So I try to be self-aware and go, well, maybe it is me.
Yeah.
And it's like this person that left the comment on my deal. I did delete it, but I have that person's cell phone, and I reached out and I said, hey man, I'm not perfect, and I am sorry that I hurt your feelings. I am sorry if you think that I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing or whatever, but my apologies. I hope you accept my apology, because man, hating each other.
But you don't even know what you did.
Well, hating each other doesn't help anybody.
For sure. I don't want that energy. That's such an ugly, awful energy. I mean, I hope that by writing it, it made them feel better, and maybe they released something, because who wants to hold on to that?
Well, it's a beautiful thing you said that, and I learned this from Philip Brooks today, and that's another thing, like being around older men, and Philip's not that much older than me, but when you're around older people that you admire, you learn from them.
Yeah.
And Philip said something to me. He goes, you always want to throw a fireball at that person. Mm-hmm. He goes, but who does it hurt? It hurts you, because you're holding onto that fireball and it's burning yourself.
Yeah. Right.
So that was such a great thing to say. And that's why I don't hold on to anger, and I don't hold on to hate. And we talked about that, 4 podcasts ago about moving on, about forgiveness, and about how important it is to not hold on to anger and hate and aggression. So, great weekend at Helicopters for Heroes.
Daddy Raymond, I gotta send him a message. He's calling.
We've been on the phone a lot. We're gonna get a comment. If you get off your fucking phones.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was like. It's Daddy Raymond. I gotta respond.
But we did have a wonderful, successful weekend at Helicopters for Heroes, and it really was a beautifully emotional weekend for us. And I do want to talk about Micah. Wow, what a humble guy.
Yeah.
Blew my mind how humble he was, and how he just really didn't want the spotlight, and it was all an accident.
What do you mean? How is it all an accident?
Him becoming this military
gotcha. I thought you meant
celebrity,
like him being there or whatever. Yeah, no, for sure.
Micah Henderson, right?
For sure.
Herndon, Micah Herndon. He was a leader of some Marines, and a reporter was with him, and they got hit with an IUD and they blew up. One of the guys on his team died, and the reporter actually lost his legs.
Photographer, right?
And then
the reporter died.
The reporter did not die.
Oh, I thought, okay. That's not the story.
He got his legs blown up, but they were able to save his legs in a limited capacity. And he always felt like, because he was the leader, that he then caused this.
Micah really took on the responsibility for all those deaths.
So he decided that he would run for them. So he starts running. His outlet is now running. Finds himself at the Boston Marathon, decides that he's going to run, and does. And the last 100 yards, his legs are no longer cooperating with him. He's not going to make it to the finish line. So he decides he's going to finish for his fallen brothers. He's going to finish, and he crawls across on his hands and knees the finish line. Well, somebody captured it on social media. It blew up. And he has become quite the inspiration. So he was our guest speaker, and he has a video on Sports Center that they did a whole feature on him. So I encourage you to look this man up, because super humble. I mean, just his humility and
he's like, it blew up on Twitter, and I didn't even have a Twitter.
Yeah. He goes, my phone's blowing up, and I don't really know what's going on, and blah blah. But he has become quite the inspiration. So we also showed that video.
Yeah.
And then you've got guys like Velocity Outdoors, who Russ Rowan, friend of ours, donated literally a 10-day hunt and adventure, from fly fishing to hunting to everything in Kodiak, Alaska, and literally donated this so that he can take veterans. So Velocity Outdoors, they do a lot of stuff with these veterans, but just everybody there, Triple J Armory out of Denver.
They're such good guys.
They gave me a gift and made me cry. It's just everybody. I want to thank everybody for everything that they did, because
I got to talk about Triple J Armory, because they're it's like a family affair with them. The brothers, the dad.
Well, one of them's fucking 7 foot.
But so sweet and helpful. And then this time the wife and the kids came too. And the mom was there this time. And I've met them before at one of your shows. And the husband was like, "Oh, you got to come meet Mama. She's here." And she goes, "I don't want to come." She goes, "This is my weekend alone. They all leave and I get time to myself." She's like, "And I didn't even understand what this thing was." But she was like, "I am so glad I came." She said, "I'm really proud of my kids and how they are helping contribute here."
I always tell people it is like a retreat.
Yeah.
It really is a soul-filling weekend. And you take a weekend to not only have fun with your friends and have drinks and have laughs and hang out, but you take a weekend to honor veterans, to take a step back and realize, all of it. Yeah. And really just kind of go, wow, so many of these guys and girls sacrifice so much. And then to find out that there's other people out there that are taking steps to help. Right.
Yes. So. That was one of the things Donnie said when he was talking about his organization and he stood on stage, that he was just so proud and so humbled, and it made him so happy to be in a room filled with so much patriotism.
No, and it is full of and it's okay. I always tell people like that, like you should be able to root for your team, your town, your state, your country, you know, you should be proud to
I mean, I hate that patriotism has become a political issue, but what happens at Helicopters for Heroes is it really humanizes it.
I love when I meet Australians and they're proud to be Australians, and they have every right to be. They have a great country. Yeah. When other people are proud to be where they're from, I completely respect that. Yeah. And they should celebrate all the great things that have come from their country. And their cultures. You should be able to do that. And
you just really, I mean, at Helicopters for Heroes, it makes the sacrifice very obvious,
that and you just, you realize, that people need help and people need it, and they need that a little extra something. We have 4 people that come to Helicopters for Heroes now that say that they will say that Helicopters for Heroes saved their lives. Yeah. That they were considering suicide. They found Helicopters for Heroes. Now they look forward to it every year, and they want to be there every year. So it's just a beautiful thing. And I don't mean to, I'm doing this all for you guys so you can love me and think I'm great. I should have said that, because now they're going to take that little clip and put it out there.
I just wanted to highlight Helicopters for Heroes so that people kind of can wrap their brain around what it is. If you can't be there, I want people to know what it is.
Well, I want to give it up also to our sponsors, Aztec Chevrolet, always being good to us. If you're going to buy a vehicle, give them a chance, please. Yes. Also, Old Salt Coffee. I can't get enough of that dang coffee, and I miss it when I'm on the road.
I need another cup. This one was not enough this morning.
It is delicious. And of course, our friends at Pick Cherries, podcasting like never before. If you want to cancel somebody, Pick Cherries is the way to do it, because you can pick the specific clip that you want to send out there to make it look any way that you want it to look.
And then share it with all your friends.
I just had a wonderful weekend, and I don't know what's going on. Oh, I know what's going on.
What?
You're getting into we're almost done with the casita.
I'm getting into the what?
Well, I was wondering why you're wearing the painted shirt and the, usually you're all glammed up, and today you're a little.
Oh, well, no, I'm wearing my army green pants for Helicopters for Heroes. I was just feeling the Helicopters for Heroes homey vibe this morning.
And that's the other thing too, as a family, there's always challenges, and I had to leave early to go to Helicopters, and then the plan was that Renae would join me with Garrett, and then her parents would come and be with Delilah. Yeah. And Delilah gets sick.
She's running 102 fever.
Garrett's cough doesn't seem to be going away. And then Renee's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to make it at all. And it's like,
no, I was just like, I couldn't expose my dad and my mom. My dad's helping take care of my mom. I couldn't expose my folks to Delilah. She tested negative for everything, but we didn't know clearly she had something. We didn't know something was going on, and I just couldn't risk it.
But I do love you for, even though you only came for one day, and it was a 3.5 hour drive there and a 3.5 hour drive back. You did it all alone to be with me. And I love you for that. And thank you so very much.
Oh, I love you. I wish I could have been there more.
We are on our way out of here. Great podcast this week, guys. And for those of you that love us, thank you for the love and support. We truly, truly appreciate you. And those of you that want to shit on me, just keep it to yourself.
No, you know what? I was going to say, I don't want to close like that. I'm not going to close this episode like that. We're not doing that. I want to say one of the things you said was like, it's hard because you put yourself out there and there are things that come with that by putting yourself out there. But I think we got to remember why we made the podcast table in the first place and said, you and I are going to do this is because we really want to put a positive message out there of what a Mexican-American couple and family is like. And I think that is still the goal. And I think we are doing that. And I think we should be proud of that.
No, and we will continue to be positive, and we will continue to ask you guys for help for the right reasons and the right causes. And we can't help everybody. And for that, I apologize. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.